Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. The first question is, can you tell us a little bit about how the pandemic may have affected your career and how you kind of pivoted in response to that?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll give you just a little bit of context of like when I graduated and like what I studied before. So I was class of 2020, so I'm class of COVID. And I study FBM. So my career path kind of at first I thought it was kind of a 180 from what I had originally planned to do, but now thinking about it, it was more of like a 360 of like returning to my roots in retail. So I was FBM, but for the past 2 years, I guess, since my junior year, I kind of ventured out and explore other industries. And my senior year internship, the entire senior year, I was in media and entertainment. So my original plan was to kind of transition from the same position as an intern into a full-time position in that team and that company. But then the pandemic happened and they were massive layoffs at my company as well as hiring freeze for all entry level. So that opportunity fell through and then I had to pivot pretty quickly because I found out, I think, about 3 weeks or 4 weeks about I graduated. But I was very lucky in a sense that the semester before, I ran into someone who's now my coworker, but back then she was just someone I know. So a little bit of a backstory, taking it back to when I was very little, my freshman year, I was introduced to this software at FIT in my direct marketing class called Edited, and it's a data analytics software, and I was so fascinated by it. So I started kind of networking with people from that company. I asked for an internship, they didn't have an internship, and continue using that platform like throughout my college years. And so I ran into her from someone from Edited, and then she said that to reach out to her because she knows I've been asking for an internship when I was younger, but I couldn't get it because they didn't have an internship. But now that I'm about to graduate, like they may be opportunities for a recent grad. So I reached out to her, and then it all worked out. So I did the whole interview process and then was able to come back to retail as a retail strategist working at a software as a service company.
That's amazing. And you already kind of touched on how, networking is so important. So our next question is just kind of, you had that connection, but how did you stand out in the application process since the interviews are all virtual now? And then just kind of if you could talk to virtual interviewing or what employers are kind of looking for right now in a resume.
Yeah, so I think like the biggest piece, and you mentioned it too, is kind of how you get yourself in the door is already like half the battle. So having that personal connection and knowing someone that in the company, like I was able to get insights on like what people are like, what the hiring manager is looking for, what I should be talking about, what I should touch on. So I think like that is one big leg up that you could do during the pandemic is to kind of like network and get insights on like the company you want to work for in order to know what to put on your resume, what really is like something that would make their eyes like sparkle if they see or they hear in your interview. My other tip is that during the pandemic, you have more time than ever to kind of put your effort into each and every single thing about the application process, whether that's your portfolio, your resume, your cover letter, which you should always tailor, but like now more than ever, you have no excuse of you don't have time to do it. So that is something that I like totally recommend doing. And then another thing is like, even though virtual experiences are canceled, to make sure that you find other experience like elsewhere. So for example, like doing the NRF was something I talked about in my interview, or just doing like case competitions at school is something I was able to kind of take that and like put it into the interview. Just it shows that you take initiative even though you're kind of forced into a situation that you aren't allowed to like have an internship. And then I guess like just looking up virtual interview tips that kind of allows you to show your personality through virtual experiences is a great way to kind of have a leg up in a virtual interview.
Yeah, thank you. So now that you have this amazing job at Edited, how do you kind of connect with your new coworkers and stand out as an employee, given that a lot of things are virtual now and there's not as much, daily in-person interaction?
So I have to like credit this all to Edited. I think it's more on their part rather than like my part, but I've always known that they had an amazing culture, like way before I joined the company or way before I was thinking about joining the company. So the first thing on my to-do list in my first week was to meet each and every single one of my team members, like one-on-one. And I was also assigned buddies in the company where I have like weekly coffee chats and like catch up with. So I was able to talk to them about like everything. And even like when the pandemic was kind of like at a better point, I was able to like grab coffee in person with my buddy. So that was really helpful to like build that connection. And then there's also like different events like going on in the company, and I make sure to attend those. So for example, we have like a NYC stand up. So everyone who work in the NYC office, like at 3 p.m. they all like join in the Zoom and just stand up from their desk for a little bit. Or like we have Friday afternoon beer, or what we call like FAB, which is kind of a little virtual happy hour that allows us to connect. And then in terms of how I was able to kind of stand out and show my value in a virtual experience, again, I have to credit it to the company culture. So they have like a little platform software that every week we like do our updates on, and they made it in a way that it feels so safe and not weird to brag about your accomplishment that you've achieved like throughout the past week. So that was really great, to like a great way to show your value. But if the company that you're working with doesn't have this kind of system put in place, I think it doesn't hurt to talk about your accomplishment in your one-on-one or in your if there's like an email update recap that you do. And then another thing that I was able to kind of hone and stand out during the virtual working experience was kind of to find your niche. So in my team, everyone has their own like specialty. So there's like one person in the team who knows how to use this software really well. So people know to go to him if they have any question about that software. There's like someone who's really great at pulling usage data. So if I was pulling data, I would go to her. So for me, I was able to take my old experience in like consumer and market research and put it into my own niche. So I love creating like custom reports. So now people kind of know if they want to do something around like custom reports for customer, they can like talk to me about it.
Great. It's really cool to hear about the company culture, the buddies and the stand-ups. I think it's always great to hear about, that unique aspect of different companies. So our next question, for anyone who's watching who doesn't know, could you tell us a bit more about your company, Edited, and just what they do?
Yeah, of course. So we are a software as a service company who like specializes in data analytics. So what we do is, let me kind of like take a little bit back. So in the old days, right, when a merchandiser or a designer wants to comp shop and get ideas and research onto what to make, what to plan for the next season, what they do is they would just go to different stores and kind of just write down all the aspects, the pricing, the styles, and then put it into Excel and then analyze it in a very manual way. Even with e-commerce, it's still going to different sites to kind of get all of this information down and then analyze them is a very manual work and requires a lot of heavy lifting. So Edited, what we do is we use AI to do all those heavy lifting for you in a way that like a human can never do. So we've tracked about 2.5 billion SKUs, like from 4,000 to 5,000 retailers over 40 global markets. And then we put them into tools for you to analyze what are some price range for each retailer, what customers are looking for, what are some best sellers. So we use AI to help retailers make decision for the product to deliver them at the right time and at the right price.
Yeah, thank you. That's so cool. I remember when I first heard of Edited a
Mhm,
few years ago, I loved all the analytics and how they were able to
mhm.
find all that information in just one place. Um,
Yeah.
so now can you tell us a bit more about what your role is and
Mhm,
what a day in the life kind of looks like?
mhm. Awesome. So my role is I am an associate retail strategist. So this is just a title that's like very specific to Edited. But if you talk to other like software or tech company, what my role is the customer success role, which is a very new field in the tech industry. But you'll find this role from like startup all the way to like big companies like Twitter or Microsoft, and it is basically to be that bridge between customers and our like tech product data engineering team. So what we do is, for example, we would be a champion for our tech team in telling the customer what they can do with all the features to achieve their business objectives. And on the flip side, if there's any insights that customers want to see or struggles that they need in order to make their decision, we would communicate that to our engineering and data team to build a product that helps them get to those insights. Um, and for my day to day, I think there's like a three overarching themes to my day to day. And I think like everyone's day to day is, different each day. But so the first overarching theme of what I do in my daily basis is basically being a customer advisor, figuring out strategic plan of how do we make um, insights, dashboard, or analysis that will help our customer achieve their business objectives. And then that involves a lot of like hopping on calls, hopping on trainings, helping them with their presentations. There's always going to be an aspect of like putting out daily like fires if there's data discrepancy, if there's something urgent that the customer needs. That's kind of like a second theme of the day. It's just like going through emails, going through support. And then the third theme, which what I love about Edited, is the learning piece of it. I don't know if this like specific to Edited or is it kind of all for tech startups, but I was able to they always provide us with learning opportunities, whether that's like having like a web development course or having a project management course, having a lunchtime lunch and learn about like data pipeline, which I think was really fun and is something I look forward to in my days.
It's amazing. And just for any FIT students, Edit is free for us to use if you go to the FIT database. I think both Bryn and I have checked it out. It's a really cool database. So then our next question is about FIT. So what specific classes or skills did you gain at FIT that helped you prepare for this role?
Yeah. So I think like the most obvious thing is I knew how to use Edited from like FIT, and like I pretty much like learned all the in and outs of like the platform when I was at FIT. But apart from that, I loved having like data classes at FIT. So like I took AI and machine learning, predictive analytics. I can't remember all the courses, but there are lots of like data driven classes at FIT, and that kind of taught me how I could use data and apply that into retail and how those two worlds kind of merges with each other. And then another piece of what I learned at FIT that was really helpful in my role is just the merchandising background in general, because those like are my customers. I work with retailers, I work with merchandisers, product developers. So I was able to speak their language because of the foundation I had at FIT.
Yeah, definitely. I think, having access to Edited as a database is so beneficial for us. As Janila said, I know I look at it all the time. I'm subscribed to the
Totally.
newsletters. Um,
Yay.
I wanted to ask, what is your favorite part about your job?
My favorite part about my job, I think, is like the ownership I get, especially like at an entry level. Having like internships and stuff throughout, my 4 years at college, I knew that you don't always get the creative control. But I'm not sure, again, if this is more of a startup thing or more of an edited thing in general, but I was able to experiment all the time and I felt very confident doing it. I didn't feel scared, like putting in opinions or like trying new ways. So I was able to kind of own my own like retailer accounts and kind of figure out my own way to help them achieve their strategic plan. Like there are best practices in the company, but there's no rule book that you have to live by. So I was able to like come up with new ways to engage them, come up with new ways to benchmark my own success, come up with like new ways to like answer their questions. So that was really like a great learning experience and a fun thing to do, just to get like, you know, every day is kind of like figuring out different things. So that's my favorite part of working at Edited.
Great. It's been really amazing to hear about your job at Edited. So one of our last questions, we have a fun question, just kind of what's your favorite book or show or podcast that you've enjoyed recently?
I actually like had a little bit of a different take on this question. I do like enjoy like shows and podcasts, but something that I've like discovered in quarantine is that like I subscribe to newsletter and it's just like a little fun thing to get in your inbox like each morning to learn about like what's going on or sometimes just like some funny things to see. So my favorite newsletter that I've subscribed to is the Retail Brew. So it kind of gets you kind of up to date on all the industry news and something that's happening in the industry, but in a very like fun and quick way. It's not long at all. It's not like reading a newspaper. And the other one was like I subscribed to it because of quarantine. It's called Girls Night In. And it's supposed to be like tips on how to spend your night in, especially now that I spend pretty much not just night in, but like 24 hours in my house. It's like a fun thing to read and get like little tips on how to make my days, work from home days better.
Yeah, thank you. I need to subscribe to those.
Yeah, it's a very like fun newsletter.
Yeah. Okay, so we have one more question for you, and that is, does Edited have any opportunities you know of for students or recent grads this coming year?
So for student, from what I've known, and that's my case too, is there's no internship opportunities, but that doesn't mean it's like the end of the road. I'm like the living example that you can ask for your internship in like sophomore year and then ended up at the same company in like your senior year. But there are opportunities for recent grads, depending on like which department you're in. So some department like account management or sales will need like a little bit more experience. But for example, like I got my job like right out of college, but I do need some like experience in retail. So the internship piece like helps a lot. So if you have some kind of internship experience, there's definitely like opportunity to join Edited.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I need to go back and subscribe to these newsletters and everything we've been talking about.
It's super fun. I like do different newsletter for each day, so I have something to look forward to in my inbox each morning when I have to clear the email. Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, good luck in your new role.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.